The name of this week's parsha is Bo, which means to come. Genesis chapter 10, verse 1, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and God spoke to Moses, saying, Bo el Paro, come to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, etc. The kabbalistic masters point out that the opening words of this week's parsha, Bo el Paro, seem to be incorrect. It should have said, Say el Paro. This was an instruction from God to Moses to go to Paro and relay a message. From here we learn, says the kabbalistic masters, that the interactions between Moses and Pharaoh was much more than what meets the naked eye. Moses was a very powerful force of holiness and divinity. However, Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. He was a mighty superpower of unholy forces that originated in a most transcendent divine energy. In the Zohar, he's called the Great Serpent. Therefore, Moshe feared confronting Pharaoh inside his palace, at the hub of his power. On earlier occasions, Moses had been directed to meet Pharaoh in other places, such as on the king's morning excursions to the Nile. But this time was different. Perhaps he would be harmed from such a mission. He felt incapable of grabbing hold of and then manipulating such a mighty force of transcendent energy. Almighty God senses this trepidation and therefore says, Bo el Paro, come to Paro, as in to say, come with me. We will go together. You have nothing to fear, for we are going together. I am holding your hand and I have your back. Having received such an assurance from Almighty, Moshe felt confident in his mission at hand. At his core, Pharaoh was the epitome egocentric. He regarded his own self as the source and standard for everything. Moshe was to enter into this core to liberate the Jewish people. This small word use and teaching has such a powerful message for us today. How many times do we find ourselves afraid to confront an unpleasant person or inner voice in our life and grab hold of it with the proper grip to the point where we can manipulate it to get rid of the problem? There are many gradations to this trepidation. Sometimes it results in just procrastination. Sometimes it's low-level anxiety. But sometimes it's full-on debilitating. We must always remember, when confronted with such an assignment, that Almighty is saying to me and you, Bo, come with me. We are doing this together. I am holding your hand and giving you the strength that you will need for this assignment. You are never alone. By divine providence, we read this parsha with this message on Shabbos before Yud Shvat, the anniversary of passing of the previous Rebbe in 1950, and the day the Rebbe assumed leadership 1 year later. The central role of a Rebbe is to faithfully shepherd his flock and to awaken from within them a love and fear of Almighty God. In his book Hayom Yom, in a teaching for the 22nd of Iyar, the Rebbe writes as follows. Several of the early Hasidim had a farbrengen sometime between 1784 and 87. At the core of the discussion was this. The Rebbe, referring to the Alter Rebbe, had accomplished something novel, that we are not alone. At one time, the master, the Rosh Yeshiva or Talmudic sage, was alone, and his disciples were alone. The Hasidic way instituted by the Rebbe is a tremendous divine achievement, that the Rebbe is not alone, nor are the Hasidim alone. The Rebbe is writing, a Chasid is nicht elend. A Chasid is never alone, for wherever he or she goes, the Rebbe travels with them. We are blessed to live in a generation where the Rebbe took on the responsibility, not just for a sect of Jews, but for world Jewry. The Rebbe extends his blessings and channels the necessary divine energy to all of us to pursue our purposeful endeavors with dignity and to achieve great success in all of our endeavors. More than any other leader, the Rebbe personified this idea of Bo el Paro. Come along with me to confront our inner dark voices, our inner paros, as well as those who make disturbing voices and threaten us spiritually from the outside. With the extra boost of energy we receive this Shabbos, we will surely open our hearts and our minds to do our part to welcome in Moshiach without delay. I wish you a good Shabbos.